two biggest things that I hear women talking to me about are airports. Airports are a big stressor, and traveling for business or with family. I mean, those seem to be like the biggest, and going to, beaches, because beaches are always for some reason associated with drinking, right?
Yeah.
I mean, travel in general is associated with beach, with drinking because of the advertisements and the way that it, portrayed in the media. That's
Yeah.
all they show is, people drinking their little pina coladas on the beach, but then they don't show the after effects where you're falling asleep, at 4 o'clock and not being able to enjoy the rest of your vacation and then missing your plane.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I drank all the time every night, but like morning flights hungover. I think I was hungover for every morning flight in my life. So brutal. I mean, there is
Oh, they suck.
literally nothing worse, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and there's
Anyway, so
so
I've got
many
some
strategies.
strategies.
Yeah. So we were going to talk about two different things. One, 5 things to do before you travel, 5 things to do when you're traveling. Let's dig into, oh my God, your trips, total bucket list, because I had to tell you that my 7-year sober anniversary was coming up like next week, and I had nothing planned and I was feeling very bummed about it. And so getting on the call with you and your energy, I've written down a bunch of ideas of things I can do. You always get me out of my funk, which is awesome. And we're going to talk about ideas, what we're scared of, hurdles to overcome, airports, all the things.
Yeah, so I would say, so let's dive into the 5 things
Yeah.
to do before you go. My number one piece of advice is do your research. There are certain places to travel to that are way better than, and it all depends, where you are in your sobriety too. So, but we'll focus on somebody who maybe is newly sober. Research that place you're going to go. Maybe not going to an all-inclusive resort is the best thing to do when you're maybe a month sober or even 6 months sober, or fuck it, even like 5 years sober. I don't know. I just have a thing against all-inclusive resorts. But if it's your thing, fine. There's ways that you can go about traveling to one too. But I would say in the beginning, maybe not the best idea. But there are places that are more, are maybe better for the newly sober. Ones where you can go outside and exercise, where nature is more of is the more, I don't know, what are the words I'm looking for? Easier to do.
Yeah.
Newly sober. Also places where drinking isn't for religious reasons. I know, in the Middle East or places there's lots of places where drinking is not the focus for travel. Also Scandinavian countries, it's very expensive to drink there. So you're not going to be that tempted to drink in those countries. But not just researching places, research all the different activities that you can do there. Like do these things before you go. So when you get there, you have an idea of the things you want to do, what's available. Look at restaurant menus, look at places that you can go for coffee, look at their drink menus so that when you go, you'll know, what your options are. And all this you can do. I mean, the internet is great, right? You can do all this online before you go so that you're not shocked when you get there and say, where am I going to go to dinner tonight? And you're already hungry, and it's more likely that you're going to be tempted then to just stop somewhere and, oh, doesn't that drink look nice? I'll
Yeah,
get it.
I completely and totally agree. And I mean, one of the things that I do when I'm traveling now, and this is domestically, internationally, business trips, anything at all, is look online, do my research, but also think about the destination and your schedule. So, for example, I used to go on every anniversary trip with my husband to wine tasting regions. And, you know, just in our state, in Oregon, in Washington, in California, Australia, Italy, you name it. And one of the things I do is when I'm traveling, now that I don't drink, I pick where we're going to go. And I pick someplace that is going to be fun for me. So, for example, if you are planning a trip, don't go to Sonoma or Napa. They are beautiful. Now that I am a couple years out, I could definitely go there and
Yeah.
enjoy it and not drink, but go to a place where the entire experience isn't centered around alcohol. So, for example, instead of going to Sonoma or Napa, I would go to Santa Barbara, or I would go to Laguna Beach. Of course, there's wine available anywhere, but you can go hiking. You can go to the beach and hang out by the water. There are great sushi restaurants. I was a wine girl. Sushi is not the main thing. You can rent bikes. We went to Amsterdam and went on a bike tour, or go to Greece and go on a walking tour, you know?
Exactly. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't go to those places, because people always think, like, say Italy, for example, oh, I can never go to Italy if I don't drink anymore. That's bullshit, because there's so many things to do in Italy that aren't focused on drinking. But you got to do your research first, you know. Olive oil testing. That's what we did in Italy. Instead of wine tasting, olive oil testing. Who would have knew?
Yeah.
You know?
Love that.
Yeah.
And I love
So
Pinterest
research
for that. I love Pinterest.
Yeah.
And what I like to do is, wherever you're going, I search for a couple things. One thing I search for is the best coffee shops, because that's exciting. And I mean, I'm a coffee girl, but it also gets you to really interesting areas. I actually love searching for the most Instagrammable places. I'm a big photographer, but undoubtedly, whatever the word is, it will get you to a beautiful destination that you can plan the day around. I mean, flower markets, farmers markets, just don't get on Pinterest and look for the most romantic restaurants or the best cocktail bars or the best nightclub scene. You can get to those places, but like, you want a wealth of ideas that are not going to be centered around alcohol, just to expand your horizons. I also love like going with kids, like Paris with kids, Venice with kids, not because you want to be surrounded by children all the time. And you don't even have to be going with children or have children, but you will find a greater wealth of destinations that are not centered around alcohol. And then you can decide if this place looks great, kids or no kids.
It'll give you great ideas of things to do once you go there too. Like, I'm sorry, scavenger hunts just aren't for little kids. Yeah. It's like grown-up scavenger hunts are super fun. Like a scavenger hunt in the Louvre, like, to me, that is like the best.
Are you kidding me?
No, but I want to.
Yeah. When I went to Paris, I went on a photography walking tour, and, just had my iPhone. I did photography in high school and college, and they showed us all the coolest, like, angles and reflections, like, the place you go in Paris to get the picture of the Ferris wheel in the background of the hotel sign in the reflection from that angle. And walking is incredible. So like, all of that stuff is pretty awesome. I love morning activities too. I used to be so hungover.
Yeah.
Like when we were in Paris, we went on a Vespa tour where we got on a Vespa. Thank God my husband drove. It was supposed to be a big group. We were the only ones who showed up because it started at 8 a.m. And we rode on the scooter to Versailles and had lunch with this like ridiculously hot Australian Vespa guide that I was like thoroughly amused by. He had great stories, but like, you do not have to drink to have an incredible time.
Yeah, another great place to look is it's my favorite place, TripAdvisor forums. You go in they have one for every single place in the world. If you just go on their forums and I don't even ask questions. I just go through and search, and you'll get all your answers and great like advice on places to go and restaurants. I mean, you'll get so much information. So that's it. Research.
Yes. All right.
Number two, I'm keeping you on track here, Casey.
Good.
Number two is, before you go, list out all your possible triggers. Like, now that you've planned your vacation, think through each day and think of where you might, have a stressful moment, or what's one area that you think, oh, that's a time when I might be thinking I want to drink. Think that out ahead of time, write it out, and come up with a plan for those, those possible triggers. Like I said, one big trigger for people is airports. So think in your mind how you're going to be walking through that airport, where you're going to go, what you're going to do ahead of time, so you're not caught off by surprise.